All right, you see the clock?
Yep. Good evening. Welcome to Heat Check, presented by BetMGM at 6 p.m. The most exciting window in sports is now open. Bets are being made, lineups are being locked. I'm Chad Millman from the Action Network. I got two of the best NBA bettors in the country, Justin Fan, Preston Johnson. They're going to tell you everything you need to know to get smart about tonight's lineup, the teams you got to bet, the teams you got to fade, everything for sides, for totals, for player props. Oh boy, guys, this is a big night. It's our first NBA preview betting show again, brought to you by BetMGM. Everything that we talk about, the picks, the data, the analysis, it's all available in the award-winning Action Network app. Download it for free. Justin Fan, you are up first. We're looking at the big board. What is the bet that you like the most tonight?
Yeah, I like the Cavs plus 7.5. I like it at 7-2. And this is all about the Pelicans. They're 26th in net rating of the last 10 games. They should not be favored by 7.5 over pretty much any team the way they've been playing. And defense has been a huge issue for this team throughout the season. Really a tough task for Stan Van Gundy. We've seen him try to switch schemes. They're starting to drop their big man on pick and roll coverage. That's helped kind of limit the amount of threes they're giving up. But then that opened up, a layup line, in the paint to the basket. So they're just trying to plug holes at this point, and defensively they really can't stop anybody. So like the Cavs in this spot, and for them, the return of Larry Nance Jr. is really important. We kind of have this reputation, this idea of Larry Nance Jr. as a bucket getter, as a scorer, but this season he has been really impactful on the defensive end, forcing turnovers, getting in passing lanes, really creating havoc. And you pair him with one of the best rim protectors in Jared Allen. Allen and Nance could present some problems for Zion Williamson in this one. So yeah, Nance too. I like him in terms of the floor spacing. The Cavs are the only team in the league that have averaged less than 10 threes per game. And he averages, 35, 36% from three of the last couple of seasons. So he has some floor spacing. I hope Darius Garland ends up going. He's still questionable at this point, but I still like this bet with or without Garland in the lineup.
All right, the Cavs are one of those teams that are so interesting to me. You mentioned Garland, Colin Sexton. Together, they are a fantastic backcourt. They have so much young talent. Meanwhile, the Pelicans, like honestly, I never understood why Stan Van Gundy took this job. He is a guy who likes to coach defense, and this is a team that has a hard time playing defense. You mentioned they're getting better at coming out on the three, but giving up layup lines basically. Is this something they are going to be able to fix?
I don't think so. And I think it has a lot to do with their personnel. I think Stan Van's trying to be creative in terms of how he can fix it. The guy that's really been disappointing on that end of the floor is Eric Bledsoe. He's a guy that came in. He has this reputation as a really good on-ball defender. You look at any sort of lineup combinations with Eric Bledsoe on the floor, they've been horrible defensively. Like you can kind of mix and match with Zion, with Brandon Ingram, and they can be passable on the defensive end. But with Bledsoe, the effort has been really inconsistent. And he has not played to his potential on that end of the floor. So this isn't something I think is fixable and should continue to be an issue throughout the season.
All right, Justin Fan, you are also going to be on our news desk. If there is late breaking lineup news while we are on the air, you will raise your hand and you will politely tell the viewers what that news is. Right now, you like Cleveland plus 7.5 against New Orleans. Preston Johnson, what do you got?
I'm going to buy low on the Miami Heat. I don't know if people remember, they were actually in the NBA Finals a couple of months ago. They've underachieved, obviously, to this point in the season, and I think it's a team worth watching. And why this -2, I think, is just an intriguing line. If I was to use my data from just this season alone, that's a poor performing Miami Heat, at least to what we expected team of data, I would still make this spread -2.8. So I think -2 is low just using this season's data. Now, obviously, I think we can, assume Jimmy Butler now playing, or we expect him to play tonight, and then everybody else kind of getting healthy and getting into things off of that weird offseason, off the NBA final bubble trip. This is a better team than what we've seen. So my personal projection, using some of those prior projections combined with this season's data, I have it closer to 4. We're getting -2. I love the Zach LaVine story. I hope he wins most improved player. I'm invested in that. I like the Bulls as a whole, young core. They have a chance to make something of this, but the Miami Heat are better than a 2-point favorite. Even on the road, they're both off the back-to-back, so there's no real huge advantage either way there, and I'm going to go with Miami.
All right, so here's my question. I'm a
Okay.
Bulls lover. I watch every single Bulls game. I love the Zach LaVine story. I love everything about that team. Last night, they get blown out at home by Philadelphia. Coming back tonight, they are a team that is a very short dog at home. How does that sort of blowout from last night, coming back, playing against a team that has been struggling, how does that factor into your projections?
Very minimally. So generally a back-to-back is going to factor in at some point, but since both teams played yesterday, that ultimately is a wash. The main thing here is that getting blown out against the Sixers team that didn't have Embiid or Simmons, I believe they were 1-5 without Embiid this season. Then you don't have both, and then you lose by that many points to the Philadelphia Sixers team. Like it's devastating. Not that's a little harsh, but that data from last night is incorporated in my number. Now it's very minimal, but that does exist. But it makes the Bulls, slightly worse. Ultimately, I'm not necessarily thinking, hey, they just got blown out. They're going to bounce back because they're going to try harder. Like, look, Miami's going to be trying to. They're trying to get into a position where come playoff time, they're in a good seed and good location there in the Eastern Conference playoff run they're trying to make. So you kind of have to throw the narrative out that, just because they came off a huge loss, they're going to somehow be in a better position here. Like, I just think they should be a 4-point dog at home against Miami, and it's only 2. So that's why I like the Heat side.
All right. I am going to go with the Memphis Grizzlies, 3-point underdogs tonight against the Denver Nuggets. To me, I love this because it is a great matchup in style of play for Memphis. Like the Cavs, they are a young team that does not like to shoot a lot of 3-pointers. 4th fewest 3-point attempts in the league this year. Meanwhile, what do they do well? They shoot 2-point shots. They have the most points from 2-point shots per 100 possessions in the league. And guess what the Nuggets cannot do? They are not very good at defending 2-point shots, especially Nikola Jokic, who, while he is wonderful and an MVP candidate, he is not great at moving around laterally and protecting the rim. For those reasons alone, plus, and while I don't normally love against the spread records, I think they're a little bit noisy and not much of a signal. We do have a team in the Grizz that are 19-4 against the spread to start the season in the first half of the year. That is a decent sample size. That's top 5 in the league. So I'm taking that as like a little bit of seasoning on why I would also like Memphis, but it's largely because of the matchup and style. So give me the Memphis Grizzlies +3. Does anybody have a comment on that? Do either of you think I'm making a bad play?
Did Matt Moore text you yet? I know he's a Nuggets homer, and he's a company man. I think this is what's interesting. They're both teams I would buy on in general going forward. If I was to like blindly back both of these teams the rest of the season against the spread, I think both could turn a profit. Denver's one of the teams with a great point differential that doesn't really line up with their record. They've also dealt with a bunch of injuries. They haven't been as deep. So they're not a team I want to jump in front of, to be completely honest. So it's a total pass for me. I think 3 is about fair. So I'm staying away. You might be right, though.
Fan?
Yeah, probably a slight lean towards the Nuggets. Preston mentioned the differential between their actual performance and their expected performance. I think they have like 21 wins, and they're supposed to have like 25 wins based on the point differential. They might get Paul Millsap, JaMychal Green back to bolster that bench tonight. Will be big for them. And but on the other side, I am intrigued by this Grizzlies starting lineup. When they've entered Grayson Allen alongside Kyle Anderson, Dylan Brooks, Valanciunas, and John Morant, that lineup has been dynamite, like +16, +17 net rating so far this season. And I'll be interested to see how they kind of get off to a start in this game, because the Nuggets have outscored their opponents by, I think 18 points per 100 possessions in the first quarter of the season. So we'll know a lot based on that first quarter and how both teams look at the gate.
All right, you guys basically both gave me pretty non-committal answers on that one. That's fine. I'm happy to be on an island and loving the Memphis Grizzlies. Our next segment, we are going to spin the wheel. We have a very special, highly technical, that's the most interesting player prop on the board tonight. We're going to spin it, each one of us. We don't know what's going to happen. Each one of us is going to have to make a case for a player prop we see in the wheel. Mr. Producer, please spin the wheel.
Yeah, I like the over in this one. I haven't projected at 4.8. This is rated 9 in our Action Labs props tool. And this has a lot to do with the absence of Ben Simmons in this one. So we looked at in the 6 games that Ben Simmons has missed this season, Joel Embiid has seen the biggest increase in his assist rate out of any of the Sixers players, right? And really good matchup in this one. The Sixers have the second highest implied total on the slate at 119 points. Good matchup against the Wizards defense. The Wizards have allowed the 4th most assists per 48 minutes to centers this season. And we should see a lot of double teams thrown Joel Embiid's way without Ben Simmons. And he's struggled at times, but he's gotten better passing out of those double teams and finding his teammates. So in this spot against a soft Wizards defense without Ben Simmons, a lot more of the playmaking will fall to Embiid. So I like the over in this one.
It's too easy. Like Joel Embiid starting the second half of the year. Now he's the odds-on favorite to win the MVP, passing LeBron James. I'm sure, Preston, I'm pretty sure you have a Joel Embiid MVP ticket. Fan, it's too easy to go chalk on the over on Joel Embiid. Let's spin the wheel, please. I'd like to see what Preston gets. Preston gets a Donovan Mitchell. I'm sorry. Donovan Mitchell. What do you got?
I'm going to 26. I'm going to go under. Just this is strange. This got as high as 19 at some spots. It's 18.5 point spread. We talk about game script in football a lot, and fantasy football, and trying to project out how players are going to perform late in games, like third, fourth quarters. This is one of the few games a year we're going to see a point spread in this range. This projects out where Donovan Mitchell isn't even playing in the fourth quarter very often. He also is a player, when I was digging a little earlier about this game, particularly myself, when I was trying to handicap it, like he's one of those that they rely on him and what he can do and pick and roll with Rudy Gobert in fourth quarters more frequently. He tends to pass and distribute more frequently in the first 3 quarters. And so if he's not even playing the fourth quarter, they're cruising, he's sharing the ball. He only averages 24.7 points per game anyway. And this is a game where I just think he's not going to play as many minutes. So I like under 26.5. I believe your guys' projection is about 25.5. So I think you would agree to at least some degree that you'll lean that direction too.
Yeah.
I like the unders for a lot of the Jazz players, just the starters. Like Mike Conley's another one. You kind of extend this across the board. The Rockets might have 8 players today, maybe 9 if David Nwaba ends up playing. And this Jazz bench 7th in efficiency differential this season. They had Jordan Clarkson, Joe Ingles, Derek Favors. Maybe we see Ersan Ilyasova make his debut today. They can more than hold their own, against this G League Rocket side today. So, when the starters come in, do their damage, build up a big lead, this Jordan Clarkson is out there. He's still gunning for 6th man of the year. So trying to get, put up buckets, get shots up. And I think they'll only extend the lead with the second unit. So that just overall decreases the minutes expectation for a lot of these starters, which is why, I like the under on Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, kind of all their kind of counting stats generally.
Yeah. By the way, for anybody who's watching this is the difference between professional bettors who think about this and the public who see Donovan Mitchell. They know he's a superstar. They know he was an all-star. They see over point total. They think, oh yeah, against a bad team in the Rockets, of course. But you're not thinking about how many minutes is he going to play? How many minutes is the whole team going to play? What are other players' motivations? The fact that he might not even play in the fourth quarter, that is why these guys are going under on Donovan Mitchell at 26.5 points. Producer, let's spin that wheel. Whoa, it's spinning extra. I am going to go Nikola Vucevic. Looks like that's assists. I am going to go over 3.5 assists. Vucevic, as KD said during the draft, he was very particular about how he pronounced that. I thought that was awesome that he did that. Why do I like Nikola Vucevic over 3.5 assists? Number one, this is a guy who is rated at a 10. Fan, you mentioned the Labs product. His player prop is rated at 10 over 3.5 assists. Number one, gives me a reason to watch this game because I love watching the San Antonio Spurs. Number three, Nikola Vucevic has decided he's playing in Orlando. He has re-signed to play in Orlando. He has said he loves playing in Orlando. He is a guy who will go down. I read this in a column about Nikola Vucevic in the Orlando paper on the digital internet machine. He is going to go down as one of the most beloved players in Orlando Magic history. He wants to be there to set the records. Give me the over because I know this guy is going to go for it every single night. Nikola Vucevic over 3.5 assists. Fan, give me your take on that. I know you love my logic.
Yeah, I like the over too, obviously. The only concern here, and I have the team under, is they score like 90 points, which is very possible. They're down 9 players. Their offense is a train wreck right now. No Aaron Gordon, no Cole Anthony, no Evan Fournier, no Terrence Ross. So it's going to be Nikola Vucevic carrying this thing and being involved and having a, exceptionally high usage rate. So, if they can muster up enough points, 105, 110. I think he has a good shot, getting there.
You know what this is? It's Nikola throwing the ball off the backboard to himself. That's how he's going to get to the number. It is time to go to our final segment of the night. We're going to fade the public. You know why? The public, they don't know nothing. So we put a poll in the field on the Twitter and we said, who do you like tonight? The Lakers -4.5, the Pacers +4.5. You voted.
Any team that needed the All-Star break badly, it's this Indiana Pacers team. And that's because they've been leading so heavily on their starters. Their bench averages a league low 79 minutes per game. And we saw Malcolm Brogdon, especially going in that break. He was dying, like 5 for 22 from 3 in his last 5 games. I think getting a break for Brogdon, getting a break for Domas, and getting fresher legs for these Pacers guys will help coming out the gate in the second half of the season. And we've seen this Lakers team without Anthony Davis in 9 games. They're around 16th in net rating. They're about an average team. And I don't think they should be favored by 4.5, in the spot against a Pacers team that's, been a little bit better on the road than at home this season so far. So I don't think there's a huge edge on this spread at 4.5, but I would lean a little bit towards the Pacers way.
All right, Fan, it is 6:15. We are getting more and more coaches talking to the press right now. So if you hear any news, especially about Bradley Beal playing tonight, don't forget, raise your hand. I will call on you. Also, I am okay with the Pacers doing well tonight, if only for my Domantas Sabonis top shot, which is so dreadfully underwater. Preston Johnson, what do you got?
Good luck with that. I'm going to go Lakers, though. I'm a man of the people tonight. I won't be in future dates, but sometimes the public does win. And this is one where, Justin mentioned if there's a team that needed the break as much as anyone, it might have been the Pacers because of the starters' minutes. Like if there was one player in the world that may have needed this All-Star break, it was LeBron James, who played every single game before finally resting that last one before the All-Star break. He had that break. They obviously weren't playing nearly to their potential prior. Even without Anthony Davis, they weren't playing to their potential. And this is like a reset for them. And I think everyone else can kind of hop on board. My projection is closer to 5. So at 4.5, like it's something I would bet, but I would lean that way. I'm with the public on this one.
All right, guess what? I am going with Preston as well. I like the Lakers -4.5. Their defensive intensity, especially against 3-point shot, is fantastic. I am concerned about the Pacers' ability to cycle in players off the bench. They haven't even seen Karis LeVert yet since the trade. He still hasn't played for them. Also, the Pacers giving up 118 points per 100 possessions, not a great number, one of the worst in the league. And finally, the Lakers 21-7 against teams outside the top 10 in point differential. The Pacers, they're middle of the pack. This lines up to be a roasting for the Lakers. I'm going to be on the Lakers. Fan, before we sign off for the night, do we have any news updates that people need to know about, or is everything status quo right now?
Everything's status quo. We're still looking at Bradley Beal questionable. That's the only real, big news of the slate. I think Darius Garland's also questionable, but I don't think that impacts the line too much, like I said before. But yeah, if Beal ends up being ruled out, I'm jumping all over the Sixers at 4.5. Beal's just obviously hugely instrumental, and there's going to be a little bit too much Russell Westbrook for my liking if Beal ends up being ruled out. So yeah, like that Sixers at 4.5 if Beal ends up being rolled out.
All right, folks, that is our show. Follow in the Action Network app to keep up to date with all the news that we're talking about. Follow at Fantasy Labs NBA to keep up to date on the latest in injury and lineup information. For Preston Johnson, for Justin Fan, I am Chad Millman. Catch us again for Heat Check, presented by BetMGM, Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the weekend.